Hi, my name is Andre, and we all love to cheat, whether it be on our taxes, or on our spouses, or with our daily dealings with other people. It can be a lot of fun. This tutorial is going to show you how you can apply the concept of cheating into your music production. So, this is a auto-chord patch that I've been working on for the last few days, and there's already patches like this out there and plugins that do this, but I wanted something that's just really easy to use, super flexible in terms of the amount of chords you can do, and that just works on whatever scale or key you plug in. So right now I have it set to F Dorian. So any note that I play on that scale, or any note I play at all, it's going to snap it to the notes within the scale. It'll play a corresponding chords that work on top of those notes. So if I play up and down F Dorian right now, okay, so and so I can change the root key by just changing one of these modulators, and then I'm gonna add in other scales. For now, all I have is Dorian and minor, but I can add as many scales as I want into this. And then the controls I have over here for each chord. So basically, like the first chord, the second chord, third chord, whatever within the scale, you can choose between a whole bunch of different chord types and inversions, and then adding bass notes underneath. So like if I start on F, the first chord in F Dorian, this chord type will go between a whole bunch of different chords, and then we have inversions here. And then if I turn this off, we can just add bass note over here and decide which octave. So yeah, and then same thing then for the next chord. So if I go to the next chord, G, this will be chord type 2. So I have all these connections. So with this, I can turn up a bass note basically for all the chords if I do this. So again, if I go all the way down, I can just go through these different chord types. And another thing I have too is that here, if I turn all these down, I can just have it trigger random chords every time, but it'll be within whatever scale again that we're on. So if I turn this on, then if I just start hitting chords, it'll play random ones, but they're all going to be chords that work on top of whatever the note is. And I can go back again, and it'll just keep doing it. Each time it's going to play a different chord. And then if I turn off note but keep hold on, it'll just stay on whatever chords are selected. So now it won't be random. Okay, so I think you all probably will get the basic gist of what this is doing. And I was kind of making this to use in combination with, I put up some videos of these sequencers I've been doing in NoteGrid the last few days. So this is I kind of wanted something that if I'm just triggering like whatever sequences with my like monophonic step sequencers, something that'll just produce chords on top of them. And the cool thing too is like, if you see the way I on my other tutorials about sequencers, how I have these kind of ratcheting sequencers for triggering the gates, I could just simply run something like that onto this with NoteGrid or anyway, and just simply have these producing the pitches, but have a different sequence triggering the gates, so I can get interesting rhythmic sequences that are working with these chords. So let me show you how it's working. So this is all inside of a NoteGrid, and everything, all the main stuff is happening in here within the post effects. the note grid, there's not actually much that's really happening in note grid. Originally, I had built something like this completely in note grid, and then it just seemed like it made way more sense to actually just use other note devices, and it also used less CPU. The only thing that I really have in note grid is just for one, I needed a note grid at the beginning to, well, for one, just to be monophonic, because there'll be problems if notes are overlapping each other in terms of the modulation and stuff. So so whatever notes are coming in, it's just making it or monophonic. This deals with the random, and then these I'll just deal with the inversions. But these are just a setups of logic that subdivide these knobs so that, at 0% there's no inversion, 25% is first inversion. So basically, what it gives me is for each one of these knobs a modulator for first inversion, second inversion, third inversion. Okay, so if I go into this thing over here, so I have right now, this is an effects selector patch, so I can just basically duplicate these and change the settings and add as many scales as I want, and those will all be controlled by this knob over here. I have the minor right now just deactivated. I find it saves CPU a little bit to just deactivate whichever ones aren't actually working. So since right now I'm just in Dorian, then I'm only working on that. But yeah, if I can, the CPU isn't high if they're both on. So you see now they're both on. The CPU is still pretty low considering I've got a contact patch, and yeah, and so now I can just switch between minor and Dorian. So now I'm in minor, and I can now I can deactivate Dorian, and I'll just be within minor. Okay, and then so for each one of the scales, I'm using these pitch. What's this thing called? Pitch 12, I think, is the name of this device. And so the way it's working is that to select what my root key is, I'll just simply activate or deactivate one of these options. So what they're going to do is that these are assigned to effect selectors that are going to basically switch which chord number is playing. So, if I'm using this one, if C is my root, then when I hit a C key, it's going to be assigned to so if I go to my chord selector over here, let me show you. So these are my different chord options. So if I turn a chord type over here, it's scrolling through these chord options within one of these within one of the numbers of the chords in the sequence. So if I if like I'm in the key of C, then every time I hit a C, it's going to trigger chord 1. And every time I hit if it's in C minor, every time I hit a D, it's going to trigger chord 2. And so that's all assigned using these pitch 12 devices. So the pitch 12 devices are what you can do. So like here, I'm in the key of F. So you can see if I hover over any of these, they're all assigned to this over here, which is basically the position within this effect selector. So that's what that's doing. And then I also have this thing that just switches between which octave shifting I have, because I have individual octave control for each note for each chord. And so so that's basically how this is working, is that whatever chord I'm in, or whatever scale I'm in, decides which chord will be triggered by which note, and the chords will work because it's not actually like a chord. It's just like it's adding the numbers on top. So if you see, these are these harmonic devices, or what are they called? Multi-note in Bitwig. So they'll just add whichever notes you need necessary to make that chord. So no matter what key it's in, it's just going to add it to the root note. So, here's your minor. It'll just add a third and a seventh on top. So, that's the way that works. And then the way the inversions work is these are assigned, and they'll just simply, these modulators over here are assigned to the pitches over here and just raise them up an octave. And then the other thing that's going on too, in order to have there'd be no possibility of playing incorrect notes, is that these this pitch 12 device over here is also assigned to a note transpose. So whenever I play a note that's not within the scale, it's going to shift it down one semitone, and the assignment for that note will be to the chord for the previous note. So if I play any chords that aren't in the scale, it's just going to be the same exact, or any notes that aren't in the scale will be the same exact chord as the previous. So if I play an F right now, but then if I play an F sharp, it's the same chord. You see, so if I'm playing F, F sharp, same chord. Then I go to G, see it's triggering chord 2. And then if I go to A flat, it's going to trigger chord 3. And if I go to A, it's still going to trigger chord 3, but the same chord. See, it's the same. And then if I go to B flat, chord 4, and so on. So, yeah, this thing is. I've been working on this for a couple nights because there's a lot of kind of tedious modulation that needs to be set up for it. For especially having how many chords I have, because I basically wanted like as many possibilities of chords as I could have. So I have a ton of different options that are all available by this chord type. But I'm going to show you pretty much how to set up a pretty simplified version of this. For whatever chords you want. So the cool thing about this thing too is you can basically kind of, as you play with this, decide which chords you want within these, which chord options. So yeah, let's build one of these things then from scratch. And have I gone over everything? I think so. Yeah, so let's build one of these from scratch. I'm going to just copy this contact piano onto here. And then maybe I'll deactivate the main one. Okay. So the first thing that we would do is create a series of chords for each chord. So let's do this. Where's the multi-note? Over here. So if we get a multi-note, what we can do now is we can set these up for the different types of chords that we want. So I'll make this first one will just be a 0, a 3, and a 7. I'll call this minor. Let's group this, and now within Bitwig you can just right click and do convert to effect selector. So now we can call this chord 1. And then we can just duplicate this, and now this one will be the second option for within chord 1. So let's call this one minor. Let's call this one minor 7. And then on this one, we'll just add a 10 over here. And then maybe I'm not going to go through and do a ton of chords. I'll do 3 right now. Let's do this one, 7 suspended 4. And that one will be 0, 5, 7, and 10. So this will be chord 1. And so now we can group this and convert this one to an effect selector. And this will basically be our chord series. So now we can just duplicate this. Let's just duplicate it so we have 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So let's go in here. Let's call this one chord 2. And then let's make this one be, so this one will be the second, for the second note, which I'm going to build this around C minor right now. So the second note will be a D. So this second chord, or the first chord option, let's have it be diminished. So let's say 0, 3, 6. And then the second option, let's have a diminished 7 flat 5. And then that'll be 0, 3, 6, 10. Is that right? I think so. And then diminished 7. Wait, what was I doing? I don't know what. Let's just have two options for now. All right. And then what was I going to say? Because I don't remember what should be the next one here. Let's just go to chord 3, and this one will be E flat. So the first one will be major. And let's make that be 0, 4, 7. The second one, let's have a major 7. Oops, 7. And that'll be, we'll just add oops, am I in there? We'll add an 11 on top. And then this last one, let's, what should we do for the last one? Let's do a 9. Shit. Add 9. So let's let this one be 0, 4, 7, 14. Or let's make it 2 instead. Bring that an octave down for the 9. Okay. And so let's call this chord 3. Chord 3. And then we can go to chord 4. Which will be, if we're in C, that'll be F. And we can we can basically just leave this. Or, I'll change this last one. Let's make this one a minor 6. So this will be 0, 3, 7, 9. Is that all right? Minor. Okay, yeah, that'll work. So did I call that 4? Yeah. Okay, so now let's make this one chord 5. And then I'm just going to leave this as it is. Minor 7, G7. So yeah, that would be a G, would be the note if we're in C. So the next one will be, I think we can also just copy one of the major ones. Let's copy this one into chord 6. Let me label these chord. Just delete these and we'll copy. Which was the one that had the 9th in it? Yeah, let's copy this one into 6. Call that chord 6. And then let's do this for chord 7. Let me get one of the major ones. Copy that in. Let's change this one to a dominant 7th. So that'll be 0, 4, 7, 10. And then let's make this one flat suspended, suspended 2. So let's make this one 0, 2, 7, 10. Anyway, so this will give us 3 options now for each of these chords. And you can add more to your liking or change them, decide which ones you want the position. So it's kind of like, this is just a sort of place to start with the framework for this kind of chord machine. And then you can plug in whatever kind of chord options you want in there. And the cool thing is, you'll have the knob that'll just select between any of these chord options. So this now will be the chord select. So now let me just quickly look back at this patch and see which order I had things, because I've just been working on this the last couple nights. I don't exactly remember how I had everything. Okay, so what is this? That's all right. So that's that, and it's got. Okay, so this is the chord select. I have it grouped, and then I have another chain. Oops, I don't need to do that. I just have a transpose, a note transpose right below for adding the bass note. And then let me see, what did I label this? And then I have, okay, a transpose before for shifting the incorrect notes. Yeah. A transpose that goes right before it that will shift incorrect notes. And I'm pretty sure this is just a normal group device, right? Yeah. So, okay, so now what we need to do in order to have this shift notes that we want is if we go into the modulators, we can add some of these pitch 12 devices. And so I had one for each note. So, I just had one for C, D, oh shit, wrong one. C, D, or let me do C sharp first. D, D sharp. Oops. E. Anyway, I'm not going to add them all right now, but let's just work with one right now. So, but this is how I have these set up to change the root. So now, if we go into C, so if we hold a C, what we want that to do is we want that to select chord 1. So if we hold down a C, we'll see this modulator over here. So I'm just going to put that up a little bit so that the first light is lit up, okay? And then if I click a C sharp, I want that also to trigger the first light. So I'm going to bring that to here, and I'm going to also have that shifted down one semitone because C sharp is not in the C minor scale. I'm doing a minor scale right now, okay? So whether I play a C or a C sharp, I'm going to get a C minor. So now let's go to D. So if we hold this up, now we can drag this until the second chord is lit up for D. Okay, and now for E flat, we'll trigger the third chord. And now E will also trigger the third chord. And it's going to also trigger this semitone down one note. So now whether I hit E flat or E, it's going to do the same thing. So now F will trigger the fourth chord. And then F sharp will trigger the fourth chord again also. And then the semitone down. So, and then G will trigger the fifth chord. Wait, did I already deal with F sharp? All right, yeah. So there's G, and now A flat will trigger the, is that the sixth chord? Yeah. And then A will also trigger the 6th chord. And we'll shift down 1 semitone. And now B flat will go to the 7th chord. And then B will also go to the 7th chord and down 1. Down 1. Okay? So now these will all, as we have it, be playing the 1st chord. All right? And then so let's do this. So now this one let's just call this minor scale. So essentially what you would want to do is do the same thing I just did for each note. So again, if you want to select your root key, you just simply activate one of these modulators, and then that'll shift the whole thing for whatever your root key is. Okay, so this now will be minor scale. Let's group this and convert this to an effect selector. So now this control over here will decide what our scale is. And then let me see how I had the routing over here. So I had that. All right, so I had that inside of the effects on a polygrid. Or not on a polygrid, on a note grid. So let's get a note grid. And let's set the voices to 1. And the reason I want that is because it can make problems with this patch if it's playing 2 notes at the same time. So let's just drop this into the post effects. So you see, now since it's monophonic, you're not going to get any issues if you accidentally play notes too close together. Like I can do this really fast, and there's not going to be any glitches or any weird issues. Okay, so now what we can do is create macros for our first controls. So we're going to want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that? Yeah, 5. We're going to want 7 of these that'll be chord control for chord 1, chord 2, etc. So let's just call this chord option 1. Let me copy this title, paste it here, 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 paste it here. Over here, change that to 2. Here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, and now so these will have to be assigned to each one of the chords. So for chord 1, you're going to assign it to here. So let's get this chord option, assign it to there. And then if you add more, you're going to need to reassign this because the number will change. Because right now it's a 2, but if you end up having 10 chords in here, you're going to have to change this or reassign it. Okay? So, all right, now let's go to chord option 2. Let's go to chord, or let me deactivate that. Let's go to chord option 3. Deactivate that. Chord option, let me select it first so I don't mess up anything. Chord option 4. And then chord option 5. And then chord option 6. Wait, did I just do the wrong one? No. All right. And then chord option. Why is that labeled wrong? This should be labeled 7. Chord option 7. Okay. And now for the all right, let's add another. Let's just put this one off over here. Let's call this one add bass for. Let's just do it for the whole thing. I'm not going to add a bass for each one like I did it on mine because it's just going to take too long. Add bass note. All right, so this will let's have it assigned to turn on this, and then assign that to like 2 or so. So now let's see if we hit a C. And now let's see if we got our options working. Let's just turn off the bass now so we can hear exactly what's going on. Why does it seem like we're only getting 2? It sounds like we're not getting all of them. Let me see. Chord series. Chord option 1. Suspended. 7. Is it going to be in the 7th there? Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. Okay, yeah, we're good. Yeah, okay, it was just hard to hear it up on that octave. Now you can hear the 7th. All right. So now for the inversion setup, what I did, and I've done a tutorial on this before. I'm going to split up one knob into 4 modulators, or in this case, I only need 3, so that and the only reason I'm doing this is that you don't get min-max controls on the macros in Bitwig like you do in Ableton. So I'll just call this one inversion. So what we're going to say, let's get a series of logic, and a couple maths. So let's make this one 0.25. Let's make this one 0.5. Let's make this one 0.75. Let's make this one a 1. All right, so we're going to say that if this is greater than 25, it'll open up a selector, which will allow in a 1 value into a modulator. Okay? So now let's just copy this. And let's just reroute these. Oh, we don't even need the last one. We don't need the last one, and I didn't set this up right, but this will work like this. Okay, so what we're gonna do is basically over here on the first position 1 will be the first bass, and then we'll have 1 inversion over here, 2 inversion over there, 3 over here. All right. So just kind of make this look neat. All right. So now let's go down to here. So what we would do to set up these inversions is we would say Okay, so what we would do is we would say for the first one will bring this pitch up by 12. The second one will bring this pitch up by 12. And if you look at this, let's see. Yeah. And if you've seen some of my videos where I do these logic setups, I often have a kind of a setup where it'll say if it's greater than this value and less than another value. But that's if I just want the modulator to only be opened up for, like, let's say between 0.25 and 0.5. But in this case, I want the modulators to stay open as the next ones come up, because it just simplifies the setup. Otherwise, I would have to have each rotation would have to be, I would have to have what I want for that specific rotation. But that, if you wanted like to set more, rather than just raising octaves, if you wanted to, say, for example, have like a completely different setup for each knob, what you would do is you would say that basically if the value is, let's say, greater than 0.25, and then you would say and you would get an and module from Logic, one of these, you would say and less or equal to, let's say, 0.5. So, you would say, so like, or if this value, so you would say basically if it's greater than this and it's less than that, then it opens up the selector. So that way you would only get that option between 0.25 and 0.5. So that way you could actually have a specific set of modulation for each rotation of the knob. And I did a video probably over a year ago on how to create multi-effect knobs in Bitwig, doing that thing by splitting up a knob. Although that was when I was just starting to do that, and I realized I had a few kind of unnecessary steps and like some roundabout stuff. But yeah, it's not too hard to set this stuff up if you just kind of think about what it's doing. So now for the next one, let's assign this up 12. This one up 12. This one up 12. All right. So now I'm not going to go through and do this for each chord, but let's just say now, because I'm just trying to show you the general idea of how I'm setting this thing up. So now if we get a macro, assign it to there, we'll call this Inversion 1. So now if we play our first chord, C, if we can bring this up, and it is nice to have the bass note control for each one, so you can kind of change it accordingly for each one. But yeah, I'm not going to go through. If you wanted to do that, the way I had that set up is that each one of my is that I had, instead of just one note transpose here for adding the like the bass note, what I did was I had another I just had a bunch of these inside of an effect selector and had them triggered by the same pitch 12s that are triggering the chord numbers, so that way for each chord you get a different octave control for your like bass note. But yeah, that's how that was set up. And so obviously to do the rest of the inversions, you would just have to copy this whole setup and reassign it. You'd obviously have to delete that, redo it, and assign it for each one of the 7 chords. Okay, and then yeah, once you have everything all set up, all your chords and everything, you can just simply duplicate this, call it a new scale, and just simply adjust all the values, change which keys are sending for your other scale, and and the chords and everything. And then you can just have a macro over here, assign it to here, and then that'll be your scale control. Okay, so hopefully people find this way of cheating at your music theory useful. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.